Hey guys, today we are having a look at the Zhiyun Crane M2 Gimbal. So as a father, one thing I really like to do is film my kids just kind of running around and being kids, but one problem I have run into is I always have shaky footage, so I don't want to watch it later. Well, with this Zhiyun Gimbal, I find that the footage is so smooth. I just love going around with this gimbal and filming my kids doing everything. So I've actually used quite a few gimbals, and later on in this video I'm going to discuss what I think actually makes this a greater gimbal than most of the gimbals I have seen out there. So this M2 gimbal comes in a nice foam case that makes everything really easy to carry around. Another nice thing about this gimbal is that the moving parts can actually lock into place, so it makes it a lot less awkward when you are carrying this gimbal around, especially when you have a camera on it. The attachment is fairly small, but it has a large screw that really ensures that your camera is secured to the plate and the gimbal and it doesn't move around. The gimbal also comes with a smartphone attachment as well as a tripod. So for me personally, I basically use this gimbal in two different ways. The first way, as I kind of talked about at the beginning of this video, is I really like to film my kids or do some video footage outside. The second way is I will use this a lot for panning shots of products. So as I mentioned before, I used to film my kids just by hand and the footage was just really shaky and I never really want to view the footage. But with this gimbal, it makes it much easier to film. Not only does it make it a lot easier to film, but it makes it a lot more fun as well, in my opinion. So I also do a lot of product reviews, and one thing that is really nice with this gimbal is I can do some nice panning or tilting shots using this gimbal. So the gimbal comes with a really nice app. It lets you specify points that you want it to pan to, and then you can also specify exactly how much time you want it to take to pan to these different spots. I've used other gimbals that do something similar, but the controls that this app provides is greater than I've seen with other gimbal apps. So if you've looked into gimbals at all, you'll know that Zhiyun is actually one of the best brands out there, and I think there's a good reason why. Not only does this have a really fantastic app, but this gimbal has more modes than other gimbals have. And I think this is what really sets apart the Zhiyun gimbals from other brands that you might see. So really quick, I'm just going to walk through some of the modes that this gimbal has. It has a pan follow mode that basically locks the camera from moving up and down, but it will still move left to right. It has a locking mode, which basically locks all the positions or all of the axes, and it just focuses on that one area. It has a point of view mode, and this is basically like how you move the gimbal is where the camera is going to point. It also has a go mode, which is very similar to point of view, but it's more for sports and it's a bit faster. It also has a vortex mode, which is basically for taking artistic shots where you can rotate the camera. And then it has a full follow mode. This can pan and tilt, and this is actually the best mode to use if you want to use the joystick to move the camera manually with the joystick. So this also has a trigger button that does a lot of functions, including it will recenter the camera, and you can use it to turn the camera completely around, so it kind of puts it in a selfie mode where you can record yourself talking. Overall, I'm really happy with this gimbal. Another thing that's really impressed me with this is in the short amount of time that I've had it, it's actually had several firmware upgrades as well as some app upgrades. And this is just nice knowing that Zhiyun is actively working on making this better, and with firmware upgrades you can actually see some improvements to this gimbal, so it is likely going to be even better in the future than it is right now. Overall, the quality for this gimbal I think is just superb. It's definitely a great gimbal for lighter weight mirrorless cameras. So I do want to talk about a couple areas I think this could improve on. For one, I've had a few experiences where I'm filming and the camera will just inexplicably kind of die. The gimbal gives out, it kind of does this reset function. I think the reason why is probably related to balance. Maybe it doesn't like the way I have it balanced. I found that this always happens when I'm pointing down, and maybe that's just too much weight for the gimbal. But I wish the gimbal would maybe display on the screen an error message as to why. Like maybe it's off balance, maybe it's because the gimbal is locked physically, or maybe it's a low battery or something like that. I wish they would add that functionality to that gimbal so I know why the camera is dropping. The second gripe I have about this gimbal is that the mounting plate is actually kind of a weird shape. It blocks me from being able to replace the battery. I have to remove the plate to do that. I wish they would have found a way to use the standard tripod plate size so you could easily go from gimbal to tripod and back. Other than that though, really I'm very happy with this gimbal. It's definitely one of the better gimbals I have seen for a mirrorless camera. So what are some of the features that you actually look for in a gimbal? Go ahead and post a comment below. I'd be curious to see what you have to say. I do have an affiliate link posted below if you want to check out this gimbal on Amazon. I hope this video has helped you in some way. If it has, please feel free to like and subscribe.